Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we're doing another reviews and ratings episode where I review and rate all the different games I've been playing in the past 2 weeks with friends, family, and even solo. Today I've got 8 different games that we're going to go through. I'm going to start with my least favorite, go into my favorite, give a quick, short overview of each of the games, give my personal thoughts on it, and give a rating for that game. So let's just jump right into it with the worst game of this week, and it's a game I do not like at all, and I don't say like that lightly. This is Doctor Who Keys to the Tardis. And this is a game where you have a grid of these tiles out. Each person plays as one of the doctors in from Doctor Who, and I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. And basically, you're trying to race from whichever side of the board that you started on to the opposite side. The person who does that first wins the game. On your turn, you're basically going to draw a card and then play a card, which lets you reveal a tile around the board. Like basically open up a door, and then you can move your doctor onto a tile that's by your doctor. Some of the tiles you can't go on because there's different bad things on them, and I won't spend too much time on this game. This game is just straight up trash. I'm giving this game a 2 rating. This is basically a very, very childish kids game disguised with an adult theme. I mean, most people who like Doctor Who are adults, so it's a theme that appeals to adults. This is almost a kids game with that theme on it, but it's not even a good kids game. It's a horrible kids game. There's basically no strategy in this game, and they threw the Doctor Who theme on this just to sell this game. It's almost like a scam to me. This is just a horrible, horrible game. I don't give out 2s very often. This is one of the few games that I've ever rated a 2. It's just a bad game all around, from theme to mechanics. So thankfully, let's go on to the next game right away. Next game is a small micro game called Smitten. This is a Stonemaier game. Stonemaier is pretty well-known company. This is the first like micro game that they've ever come out with. In this game, you are basically trying to it's a 1 to 2 player game, and you're basically trying to make 2 identical pictures. So you're laying a card out, and that card is going to tell you what you have to do with the other card. It might say the next card played has to be a card that's larger than this card, or you have to play in the other grid to complete that picture, or something like that. It's going to have some kind of instructions on it. It's a fine little micro game. It's going to get a 6 rating from me because it doesn't feel very replayable. It's a neat little puzzle once or twice, and this is a game like you can play it in a matter of 5 minutes. It's a really basic small game. It's fine for the first few times that you play it, and then afterwards you're like, okay. And it's also a very easy game to win after you've played it a couple times as well. So it's a fine little micro game, but especially for a first time micro game by Stonemaier. But definitely just check out some Button Shy games probably over this one. But it's going to get a 6 rating. Going on to the next game is Terminator Dark Fate, the card game. This is a deck building game, a cooperative deck building game, where you are basically trying to take out a version of a Terminator. I don't know anything about this particular IP, this particular Terminator movie, but it's very similar to a lot of other deck building games where you're building out your deck throughout the game, and there's basically 2 types of currency in this game. There's buying power, which you can buy more cards, put in your deck to become more powerful, and then there's fight, which you're going to use those in order to fight different cards that come along in this array that are going to do bad things. So you're fighting off those cards, and then every once in a while the Terminator comes out as well, and you're trying to defeat him. A lot of times you can delay fighting him by putting him back in the deck by certain means. And yeah, it's basically like this boss battling game with deck building. And it's going to get a 6 rating as well because it's fine for a deck builder, but it's a little bit fiddly on certain parts. And there's just other games that are deck building cooperative games that I think that you're versing a certain boss that I think are a little bit better than this one. This one just is fiddly, and it has an IP that I don't care about, so it's just going to get a 6 rating for me. Let's go on to the next game. The next game is The Captain is Dead. This is another cooperative game, and this is sort of like an action point cooperative game where the theme of this game is you are part of this spaceship, and you've been hit by some kind of aliens, and the captain has died, and you are all the crew of his, and you are going around this spaceship trying to manage things because there's constantly bad things happening. There are different like posts around this board. There's different rooms that are going to have special abilities, and they're all really good for you to have. And throughout the game, so you're going to have your action points. It's kind of like a pandemic system. You have your action points that you're going to spend those actions to do different things, basically manage the bad things that are happening. Your certain parts of that ship are basically malfunctioning, and you're going to those rooms trying to get them back online and working because they're very positive things for you. And the main point of the game is you win if you repair the jump core fully in this game, and you die. Your health has health, so it's gonna eventually blow up if you don't. So you're using these action points, using these cards in order to repair stuff around the ship, trying to manage everything. This is gonna get a 7 rating from me. There's a couple things that I like about this game. There is a ton of different variable players that you can play as. There's a lot of them in this game, so there's going to be a lot of variability. That's a good thing. One of the bad things is that some of the people are obviously better for this game. I mean, it's very obvious, like, oh, this guy's got a very powerful ability, where this person, maybe they don't have the best ability. And I suppose that could be actually a good thing as well. Like, if you play the game a couple times and you think it's too easy, you could take some of the characters that are less powerful, or, vice versa kind of thing. But I do like that there's a lot of characters available for you to use in this one. So yes, numbers 7 for The Captain is Dead. Going on to the next game. The next game is a party game. This is Monikers. This is almost like charades, but there's 3 different rounds in this game. And at the beginning of the game, you're all going to get all these cards that have something on them. I mean, it might be like Bill Clinton and Chewbacca, and you're going to get 10 of these cards that have things on them. You're going to choose 5 of them, and then everybody chooses 5, puts them into a deck of cards, and then basically you're going to split into 2 teams. And one team is going to go, and they have a certain amount of times, I think it's 60 seconds. In the first round, they're going to go through these cards, and they can say whatever they want except for what's on that card, and trying to get people to guess what that's on. If you get it, you get that point, you set it aside. If you don't get, when the timer's done, you pass it to the next player, and you basically keep doing this round until all of those cards have been taken. The next round, you use those same exact cards, but this time you only get one word to describe the cards. And so everybody knows the cards that are on there, so it's a little bit, you're familiar with the cards, and you get this familiarity with the deck, basically. And then after that, the second round, you go into the third round, which is purely charades. You cannot say anything. You're just making actions and movements with your body and hands. So, yeah, and I usually am not a party game person. It almost brings out some anxiety in me when I'm playing party games. This is a fun one, though. I'm going to give it a 7.5 rating. I think it's a fun little activity, fun little time. My group had a great time. We played it a few times now. It's a great kind of icebreaker to the game night. So 7.5 for Monikers, which is a high score for a party game for myself. Going on to the next game for this week. This is Ecosystem Coral Reef, which is the sequel to Ecosystem, but it's got a different theme in this one. In this one, you are going to have 2 rounds of drafting cards. You start with 10 cards in your hand. You're going to pick one of the cards, lay it down into this grid, and then you're going to pass the remaining ones. And then you're going to lay a card down from those ones, pass them until you've gone through all 10 of those. You have to place your cards adjacent to other cards, and you're making this 4x5 grid. And then, so you're going to do 2 rounds of that so basically you have 20 cards in your grid, and each of these cards is going to score a different way. There's different things in this, there's coral, there's different types of fish, and they're all going to score points based on sort of like adjacency or something like that. You're going to score points for having these things besides these things, kind of thing. This game, I'll give a score right away. This is going to get a 7.5 rating for me. I like this game a little bit less than the original because this one, the creatures and the scoring is a little bit more complex. I like the original more because the scoring is pretty simple. The scoring's not as complex as this one. But it's still a really good game, one that I really like. I think I prefer the original one because it's a little bit simpler to explain than this one. This one's still a simple game to explain, but it's the scoring's a little bit more complex and a little bit more thinky, and I think I like the original one a little bit better. Going on to our 7th game this week, the 7th one is Monolith. This is this cube tower building game where it's a Phil Walker Harding game, so it is a very simple, family-friendly sort of game, and you are going to be basically taking these cubes that are around this circle, and they're basically little polyomino pieces, and placing them onto your board, and you're trying to build up a perfect Rubik's Cube sort of tower. And it's just this 3D tower building game, and you're going to score points in a few different ways. You're going to score points every time you complete a level completely, and then you're also going to score points for, I think they're prophecy tokens, I can't remember. But basically you are betting on each side of the tower. You're supposed to have a certain color of cubes on that side of the tower. So you might have to have red cubes on this side, brown on this side, blue on this side, white on this side. And you're going to take these prophecy tokens, which are any kind of numbers, anywhere from like 16 to, 7 or something like that. And you're going to take one of those prophecy tokens on your turn, put them on one of your sides, and you're betting that you're going to get that many cubes of that type on that specific side of the tower. If you do get that many types, you get that many points for the prophecy token. If you don't reach that many, you don't get any points. So you're just kind of betting how many you're going to get. Very simple game, very fun game. I'm going to give it an 8 rating. I really like the tactile nature of it. Building up that tower is fun. Looking at it, making this 3D piece. It's just an engaging game that's got this toy factor that makes it just a little bit fun and a very good family-friendly game. So 8 rating for Monolith. Going on to our final game of this week. This is a game that I meant to review a while ago and I completely forgot about it. This is right here, actually. This is Small World of Warcraft. This is a re-theme of the older game Small World, but it's got the Warcraft theme on it. And so it's Small World of Warcraft. Neat little twist of that. And basically, Small World is Risk with fantasy creatures, where you are going to be basically drafting a fantasy creature which has a special unique power on it, and then you're also that creature has another special ability on it. So you basically have 2 special abilities for this creature that you have. You're then going to take your tokens from that fantasy creature and put them around the board and spreading across the map, sort of kind of thing, and trying to conquer as many spaces and hold as many spaces as you can. And you're going to score points at the end of your turn. However many regions you control, plus your special abilities might grant you some points. And then everybody else is going to go, and you're going to end up drafting a couple creatures throughout this game. And yes, I'm going to give this game an 8.5. I really like Small World. I really like Small World of Warcraft. This sort of feels like Small World with a couple of its expansions already built into it. So I like this base game more than the original Small World base game, but I've got a ton of expansions in the Small World. So if I was going to play my version of Small World with all the expansions or Small World of Warcraft, I'll pick my version of Small World. But if I'm just picking base game versus base game, I'm going to suggest Small World of Warcraft. It's got a lot of interesting mechanics that they've thrown in through with some of the expansions in it, but one that I really, really enjoy. I still like Small World to this day, even though it's getting a little bit older, and I'm glad to have this version of Small World as well. And so yeah, those are all 8 games that we're going to be reviewing today. Make sure to leave some comments below about these games, and whether you've played them, whether you haven't, what you're excited about them, if you agree or disagree with my certain perspective of these games. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. Hope you all have an amazing day. Take care.